right, welcome. Today we're going to be practicing at a moderate pace, but with particular loving focus on the lower back. This is a place that is very contentious for many of us. Maybe we've had some feelings here. Our kidneys live in our lower back, and the kidneys hold on to fear. And so not only do we want to help strengthen this part, but also help it just move a little bit more freely, so that you can continue to do and be in all the things and all the ways that you would like to during the day. So we're going to start on the back. When you're ready, feet flat on the floor in constructive rest. And if you would rather enjoy some time transitioning between here and there, please take as much time as you need. It's no rush. And since it is the cooler time of year, especially here in the Northeast, if you want to add a layer of blanket down on the floor before you come onto your back, that gives you a little extra warmth, but also some comfort perhaps. And it might feel nice to draw the knees in, rock a little side to side, and just feel the back resting on the ground, different parts of it making contact with the earth as you roll around. And then let your feet rest on the floor. Keep your knees bent. And maybe bring your hands to your lower belly. So this is like the front side of your lower back. And welcome yourself here. Welcome any sensations you're aware of, maybe places your body's heavy against the earth, areas that feel warm, areas that might feel tender. Welcome the rhythms of the mind and any thoughts that emerge. Welcome the natural rhythms of your breath. Feel yourself inhaling and notice the parts of you that are expanding, particularly in the trunk, the belly, the lower back, the upper back, the chest. And notice how your whole trunk contracts as the breath moves back out. Feel free to linger here a little longer if you'd like. When you're ready to move or shift gears, maybe stretch your whole body long on the ground. And take banana asana or banana shape with the hands and heels over to the left corners of your mat, making an arc for your right side. Enjoy feeling the breath move into the right side body as you curve in this way. And then walk your hands and heels over to the other corners, the right corners of your mat. And enjoy a moment or breath into your left side body. And then return to somewhere neutral, stretch yourself long, and then pull the knees in close to your chest. Grab on with the hands, and if possible, bring your nose up towards your knees. Engaging the belly muscles a little bit here to hover. And then expand again long. Reach legs long, arms high, and then curl up into yourself. And if you want, you can think of this as a very different or larger, expansive form of cat and cow. Cat being the curled up position here with the knees in close to your chest, and then cow being somewhat of an extension. Maybe you even let your low back come off the floor temporarily before you pull the knees back in. And this can be as slow and sweet of a movement as you like. You can also make it smaller. And the next time your knees are in close to your chest, rest your head down on the ground. I'm adjusting all my clothing here that got riled up from that movement. And settle your back again onto the ground. This time your feet are still lifted. Your knees might come up close to being on top of your hips so that your shins are parallel-ish to the ground. And then open up the arms across the mat like a T. Press the palms down into the ground a little bit and see if you can firm up your belly muscles. Imagine pressing the lower back into the ground and feel the engagement here also through the front of your trunk muscles. And then let your knees fall a little bit to the left. You decide how much. You can go a little bit further, maybe use your arms to help you as a lever, and then press your way back up to your starting position. Now let your knees fall a little bit to the right. You decide how much. And then use your arms to help you along with your belly muscles to bring you back up to your start. And maybe explore this side to side movement a few more times. And the next time your knees fall over to your right, let them rest all the way down on the floor into more of a relaxing twist. It's okay if your legs split apart a little bit. And maybe with your left hand, if it's available or if it feels nice, you can take your hand and gently rub with loving touch the lower back, the side of your waist there on your left side. Sometimes a little loving touch brings awareness of there's tenderness or temperature, any of those things. When you're ready to twist to the other side, bring your legs up and over to your left. Enjoy a few moments here, and if you enjoyed just gently rubbing, give some loving touch to your lower back on this side. When you feel complete, come on back to your starting position. Get long on your body so you can roll over onto your belly. And if you still have a light layer of blanket underneath you, that's fine. I would just make sure that there's no like seam right near the belly or any other tender bits for the next moment. Perhaps rest your forehead on your hands. And if you like, roll the forehead over the bones of your hands to unwrinkle your brow. Slide your hands now underneath the shoulders so you can press up to tabletop and roll into cat. From here, shift the hips back towards child's pose and keep the arms extended out, either straight out in front or maybe out a little wide, like a V shape. What does it feel like to breathe right now? And can you feel the back body expanding with each breath in, contracting with each breath out? Sometimes it's enough to just bring that extra awareness of breath into a part of your body that you're wanting to care for, or that might feel tender. Now reach your arms out in front, come forward onto hands and knees, rounding into cat pose, and then arch slightly for cow. Round again into cat and shift the hips back towards the heels, child's pose. Let's do that rhythm one more time. Round into cat. When you get to hands and knees, arch into cow. And then round into cat and shift the hips back, child's pose. One more time, rounding, creating a little bit more fluidity through the spine and the back. And the next time you rest in child's pose for a moment, look forward and start to slither back down onto your belly. Slide the hands down underneath your shoulders or just past that by your side ribs. And prepare for Bhujangasana, Cobra Pose. Press the tops of your feet into the floor and start to lift the head just any amount. Feel the lower belly and pubic bone rooting down. And even here now in this active shape, can you feel the breath moving into the back body? When you're ready, lower yourself back down, press up onto hands and knees, round into cat and come back into child's pose. If you like, you can curl the toes under and explore what we call extended child's pose. Little stretch for the soles of the feet. And then shift forward onto the belly again. Another chance for cobra pose. Press the legs and pubic bone down into the floor. Lift the head and chest any amount. And if this time you want to hover the hands an inch or so off the ground, feel free. Notice where you feel sensation or effort shifting with that small change in your hands. Now let the hands come back down to the floor and press with a little bit of zest, just to help yourself lift a little bit more, not for the sake of more, but for the sake of different. Some of you may press into the hands a lot more and come into what we call upward facing dog pose. Go only as far as feels good or possible today. And then lower yourself down, bend the elbows, come back down to the ground. Press up into cat, rounding, and then back into child's pose. When you're ready, shift forward onto hands and knees. I'm going to take my socks off here because it's going to get a little slippery. And I find I'm warm enough. So on hands and knees, you might start making circles with your hips in space. You might rock a little bit back and forth. Or simply shake your tail from side to side. Continue to explore different ways that feel good or helpful for you right now. And then steady yourself onto hands and knees and step your left foot back. Keep the toes curled under so you can stretch out through the back of the leg. And you might pulse a little bit back and forth, shifting the weight back to stretch the heel and then a little bit out of that. And then press more firmly into your hands and your left foot and see if your right knee will hover an inch or so off the ground. Go ahead and lower it back down, lower both knees down and switch sides. Open up the back of the right leg now, curl the toes under and press back a few times. And then play with shifting the weight more firmly into the hands, into your right foot. Maybe hover your left knee an inch or so off the ground. Go ahead and lower everything back down. And then let's try the first side again. Reach back through the left heel. Option to try to hover your right knee or step straight back to plank, keeping pretty much the rest of the body how it was, except now you've straightened both legs. If at any point you want to lower both knees down for modified plank, please trust your instincts. Feel how your back muscles, but also your belly muscles are firm to hold you up. And then go ahead and lower the knees if they're not already. Curl into cat and reach back to child's pose. Feel free to slide the hands back down by your feet. Give the arms and wrists a little break or a wiggle. And then we'll try that one more time if you're willing. Come forward onto hands and knees. Step your right foot back now. Press strongly into the hands and your right foot. Hover your left knee or maybe step it back. Plank, option to lower both knees, any amount. Keep pushing the floor away. And if you like, you can lower down to your elbows. Notice what changes. For many of us, it gets a little more intense, maybe not on the wrists, but just in the belly and in the back. You're welcome to lower the knees down here as well. We'll keep them lifted for another 3, 2, 1. Lower your knees, round into cat and back to child's pose. And then shift forward to hands and knees so you can curl your toes under now and stretch the hips and legs into downward facing dog pose or Adho Mukha Svanasana. It's interesting because one of my biggest aha moments years and years ago was discovering that in order to help relieve the back tension or tightness that I was feeling, it really was helpful to stretch out the backs of the legs. So it's not as much about stretching the back per se, but about taking care of things below or above that tender area so that the place in the middle has more freedom to move. And so we often think about stretching the legs in a forward fold position, but really also downward facing dog helps us do that. So if you imagine, even with knees bent, your heels reach towards the floor behind you. Stay strong through the arms. And then step your left foot forward to the front of your mat. If you have blocks nearby, those could be handy. And if you're set up next to a sturdy chair, that could also be helpful if you don't have blocks. From here, straighten out both legs for a pyramid stretch. So again, focusing some of the energy through the back of the leg, particularly the front leg. And if there's room, you can fold a little bit closer to the thigh. If it gets to be too much, too fast, then back off. It's enough to simply be in the shape. And then let the knee bend so you can bring your hands back down to the floor. Either step forward to forward fold if you want to switch it up, or if you like, step back to downward facing dog and enjoy a moment here. And then step back with your left foot or forward with your right and switch sides for pyramid on the other side. Let both legs straighten more or less. And then if there's room, gently fold into the stretch or passive version of the pose. And sometimes in this shape, if the back of my leg feels a little bit tender, I can use my hand to add some gentle rub or loving touch. And even that just makes it feel, for me at least, a little bit less acute, a little bit less tender, a little bit less intense. In a moment, we'll switch sides again. So you decide how you switch. Maybe you step forward, or maybe this time you step back. You could also step down and enjoy a moment closer to the floor. And then step your left foot forward again for pyramid shape. This time we'll be in the active pyramid. So if possible, have your hands on the blocks so that you can get lighter on the blocks and stronger through the legs. So we're going to come up a little bit so the torso is more parallel to the ground. And anytime you change the angle of your torso to gravity, it means that these muscles right here have to work a little harder. So if it feels possible, maybe lift the hands and reach back behind you towards your hips. And press down strong into your left big toe. Keep the legs steady, even if you're wobbling a little bit. And then if you want extra heat, reach your arms forward to challenge the back muscles even more. If that feels like too much or not possible right now, reach the hands back. You can also rest them down onto the blocks. Release the hands to the blocks when you're ready. We're going to switch sides again. You decide how you want to switch. If there's any other movement or choreography in between sides, enjoy. And then switch sides to step back with your left foot. Keep your right foot forward now for active pyramid on the other side. So legs are more or less straight. You're always welcome to change the distance between the legs if you like. And then come up onto the fingertips, maybe even lift the hands and steady through the legs, strong through the whole trunk. Nice. When you're ready, bring the hands back down, switch sides. Again, there's lots of time. Enjoy a moment between sides. Notice if your downward dog or forward fold is starting to feel different as the back of the legs open up. So now you have your left foot forward again, your right foot back. Now bend your knee deeply and rise up to Warrior One, Virabhadrasana One. Maybe you sweep your hands up overhead. And then start to straighten your front leg. As you do, sweep the hands down and bring the torso forward into your active pyramid. Let's start a little rhythm. Bend your left knee, rise up, Warrior One. And then shift into your expression of active pyramid. A couple more times, back and forth. Now there's some leg and hip muscles really working to hold us in this flow. And the next time you're in the pyramid, reach down for the blocks. If you have a chair in front of you, you may need to adjust here. But start to shift your weight forward and kick your right leg skyward. Walk the hands and blocks out for a standing half split. Option to stay right here or get lighter with the hands on the blocks. And come on up to Flying Warrior. Maybe your hands reach back by your hips. Maybe you take them out like airplane wings. Maybe you reach them forward for a little more heat. What does it feel like to breathe right now? When you've had enough fun, take a big step back, landing on 2 feet. Whew, and then bring the hands all the way down. You decide what feels good next. Step forward, maybe step back. If you'd like, you can go through a little mini flow, shift into plank, lower down to the belly, cobra pose or upward facing dog, and then child's pose or downward facing dog. When you're ready to explore the other side, step your right foot forward. Grab the blocks if they're helpful. And then bend your right knee deeply and walk yourself up to warrior one. Whew, how are you doing? Okay, so here we are. You can be in this shape for a bit, or you can work with the dynamic movement between that and the active pyramid. Remember that the second side often feels different. Maybe different things are possible here. And so can you honor any of those differences you feel without judgment? The next time you're in the pyramid, maybe reach down for the blocks and prepare for warrior three or flying warrior. Kick the left leg skyward, shift yourself forward first for the standing half split. Maybe this is where you land and stay for a moment. Or maybe use the strength of your legs, your trunk, and your back muscles to help you up. Adjust your arm position however you want to explore this here on this side. And when you feel complete, take a big step back, landing on 2 feet. Woo. And then make your way down and out of that. Maybe a restful moment, maybe enjoy a mini flow forward to plank, down to the belly, cobra or upward dog, and maybe child's pose, downward dog, or some other shape where the left and right sides are working together. Notice your heartbeat. Notice the rhythm of your breath. And thank your body for breathing and beating without you even having to think about it. And then you shift forward onto hands and knees. And if you moved your blanket out of the way, maybe pad the knees again here. Oh, how you doing? It got exciting for a few minutes. All right, one more thing here for a little bit more excitement. So from hands and knees, have it turn so that you're facing the long edge of your mat with your right hand down and your left leg extended out. For some bodies, it's helpful to have a block underneath that. It just, even here, even though I can reach for the floor, it feels much better to be a little higher. You might decide you don't want the block at some point, but you can try it if you have it available. So I think when we think of the lower back and strengthening and stretching, we often forget about all these side waist muscles that often are the ones that we complain about when we say that our low backs are tender, right? There's actually something coming up more the side rather than straight in the middle. And so I wanted to enjoy a moment here of strengthening the side body. So option to stay right here. We call this side plank variation. Or you can begin to lift your left leg into like a balancing half moon variation. And then depending on where your foot is in space, like if you bring your foot a little more forward, you might feel like those side waist muscles are less involved. And then if you bring it back behind you, there's a spot where you're like, oh yeah, maybe you start to feel this engagement, this effort here. Whereas if you kick it back behind you a little bit, that might feel different. So see if you can find a spot where you feel like the weight of your leg is challenging you through the side waist. Option to lift the left hand to the sky, or if you want, extend your lever here and create one long line with your left arm close to your ear. Keep using your right foot as a kickstand and embrace the wobbliness. Beautiful. When you're ready, lower that side down. Come back to hands and knees. And then switch so that you're oriented to the other edge of your mat. Now your left knee is holding you up. Your right leg is out long. And then maybe lift your right leg up and play with shifting the foot forward in space and a little bit back so you can feel how there's some differences in how your body has to work to hold these different placements. And your body can move in all these beautiful ways. Find a spot where you feel a bit of the challenge, perhaps, of the side waist muscles. Maybe you feel this outer hip glute area start to work a little. Option to reach the right arm to the sky or maybe closer to your ear. When you've had enough fun, make your way back down to hands and knees. Ooh, I'm feeling some feelings through this side of my hip. So feel free to roll around. And then perhaps you explore one last time, side plank variation, side, half moon variation. Or if you want a little bit more heat or excitement, press the outer left foot into the floor and try to hover the right knee underneath you. If it wants to lower back down, that's okay. If you want to try something a little more exciting, try to bring your elbow and your knee a little closer together on that side. You'll feel wobbly, and that's okay. And then maybe you open back up again. Maybe you bring the knee and elbow a little closer together. Ooh, and then lower and come on out. Maybe you try one more time. Squeeze, hover, beautiful. And then make your way back down onto both knees. Ah. Let's try that on the other side if you're able, willing, or mildly enthusiastic about it. So again, option, lots of choices here. One of them might be side plank, hovering your left knee off the ground, or even drawing it in and bringing the other elbow close. Maybe you rest down in between and try again. One last time. And then rest down onto hands and knees. From here, a little stretch for the hips. So an asymmetrical child's pose. If you take your left knee behind the right one and then shift your hips back to the back corner. What does it feel like to breathe right now? When you're ready to explore the other side, unwind and cross the right knee behind the left. Shift the hips back any amount towards the back corner. And unwind in your own time. Maybe now take the knees even wider for a wide knee child's pose. Shift the hips back any amount. Rest your elbows on the floor or maybe your head on your hands. And tune in once again to your breath rhythm. As you inhale, your whole trunk expands in all directions like a balloon. And also, like a balloon, as the air moves out, the whole trunk contracts inward. Slowly bring your hands to your knees or under the shoulders to help you up to sit. Maybe unwind the legs for a moment or iron them out with your hand. And then sit with the legs in any configuration that you'd like. And just pause for a moment. Maybe you bring one hand to the belly, and if it's possible, maybe you wrap your other hand so that some part of your hand touches the lower back. And connect with this energy here, right at the center of you. The center between the upper body, the lower body, upper nature, the lower nature. Maybe even the first half of the year, the second half of the year. And give thanks to your back for always holding you up. Thank yourself for showing up today. I thank you so much for being here, whether you're live or watching the recording. I'm always here to answer questions and say hello after class. And if you're not here live, we miss you. I miss you. So please leave a comment. Let me know how you like this practice. If you gave that little side plank variation a chance. And sometimes taking a chance with a challenge feels really exciting, even as trivial as like these little things sometimes might feel. Maybe they just help us a little bit feel more confident doing hard things in the world and in our daily lives. I'll see you again soon.